Last time on A Night and Its Moon, Amaris went to the throne room of the queen, and through leaps in logic worthy of the special girl, TM, she realized that the queen was behind the Flappy Boy's curse. She then blurted this out in front of everyone and was arrested, obviously. Meanwhile, Knox was hanging out with her new thrall that she mutilated and taking her sweet time doing anything. Amaris was imprisoned and gagged, which was the worst thing that ever happened to her friends somehow. Amaris realized that she was in a death arena that was never a thing until just this minute. Knox showed up in the prison for reasons I do not know, and the girls had a smoochy reunion. But Knox failed her lock-picking role, and Amaris remained trapped. Amaris was sent out into the arena, and neither girl thought to use their powers to stop it from happening. In the arena, Amaris found herself faced with the idiot Flappy Boy who came to see her earlier, and the queen used both of them to prove that the Reavers are siding with demons. But don't worry, both our characters are gonna have to fight a dragon now, I guess. And now the exciting conclusion. Are you all ready for the final 2 chapters of A Night and Its Moon? What this? Oh, I'm not dressed as Ciri or Amaris. I'm dressed as a totally original character, Do Not Steal. Yeah, this is all of this. It's my own design. You can tell because this character has blue eyes, not purple, so. Also, my character likes horses. Oh my gosh, it's been years since I had bangs and I know why I don't do that. Did I buy a wig just for this? Yes. Did I also buy this thing just for this? Also yes. This shirt was for something else. Apparently I just got to keep going overboard for these final chapters. Let's get back to reading. We have 2 chapters left and it's about 26 pages. So, and then of course we'll have to do our, discussion of the book after, and I may have to take this wig off because this is a lot. If you hear background noises, it's either ferrets in the next room or Adam wandering around. Let's go. We have made it to chapter 30. Amaris and Gadriel are in stupidest plot ever, in this death arena, and she has a sword and he's got nothing, and also his wings have been shredded, but because this author doesn't write pain, he has like no ill effects of having bled a lot, and you'd think it would be really painful to have your wings shredded, but I'm not a bird man, so maybe there's no nerve endings in your wings. I don't know, but he's fine. He's like fine and ready to fight. Also, Amaris is once again proving why she is the leader all the time. He asks her if there's a plan, and her plan is don't die.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
But you remember that she had that boob knife hidden in her bodice, so at least she can give him that. Kind of have a case of that, like, dragon in Harry Potter that the kids found in the bank, where, like, this dragon is all like scarred and beaten from working here in the arena for the royal family all these years, being imprisoned. Are we gonna free the dragon? Do we have another book where we're gonna like free a dragon? By the way, book 3 of Adventurer Mage has dragons in it. So I feel like I'm right on course with all of my fellow self-published girlies. Although Piper CJ is no longer a self-published girly. Her book was picked up by a real publisher, so apparently Amaris knows one thing about this dragon, and it's that it's invincible. So good luck. Also, she could try using her power on it. Has she ever tried using her power on a dragon before? You don't know, it might work. Buddy Boy, the winged guy, is just full-on sprinting, so the fact that his wings have been mutilated and he's lost a lot of blood means nothing to him. Why bother injuring him at all? I mean, you gotta get his wings out of the way, I understand that, but I hate it when authors injure a character and then it means nothing. I don't know why, but we're describing the dragon and how horrible it is, and Amaris thinks it may as well have been a large horse.
Don't judge me.
So she's mad that Gadriel is not coming up with the plan because he's a general, but he's like asking her for advice because she's a Reaver and Reavers fight monsters. But she's like, why isn't he coming up with a plan? Bitch, He's asking you because you're a monster fighter. He doesn't know that he's got the most useless monster fighter in the world on his side right now. But she just tells him, like, we're just here to buy time, and then she runs off and fucking leaves him, so, like...
You are a bitch!
Apparently she uses her move, like this is her signature move, and kind of the thing that she used against the other monster, where she does like a tuck and roll. I guess everybody needs a signature move. Basically, this is a video game, and she just does a dodge roll out of the way of its, like, snapping teeth.
Do a barrel roll!
If anyone is wondering if Piper CJ has gotten any better at action scenes at the end of the book, no. No, this is possibly one of the least dynamic action. Two people are fighting a dragon, and it's so bogged down with so much description. There's no tension. We head hop over to Gadriel, and he, like, flares his wings, and, like, it's painful for, like, a second, and then the author does that thing where she's like, and then he pushed it down and ignored it, and I'm like, good, great, glad. She's just, like, any emotional or physical pain this author is not interested in. The characters just, like, push it down and get over it. Is that something from the Witcher books? I feel like that might be something that Geralt does. I've never read the Witcher books, but I would not be surprised if characters in those books also, like, felt pain for a second and then just pushed it down and decided to ignore it. I am 100% picturing a battle with a dragon from Dragon Age Inquisition. I had a whole, like, team makeup. I can't remember who was on the team. I'm pretty sure Iron Bull was one of them. I think I had, like, Iron Bull and Cassandra. I can't remember, but I had Team Dragon Slayer is what I called them, and they were the main team that I brought with me every time I went to fight a dragon. I think Dorian was my mage. We're just shamelessly head-hopping from character to character, much like a player might hop from character to character while battling a dragon in Dragon Age Inquisition. One of them will do something, and then we'll hop back to the other one and they'll do something. This is not my personal taste for fight scenes. I like to keep my fight scenes very focused on, like, one character and their experiences. As a result, you won't get as much of a feel of the overall fight. And some people have critiqued that about my writing and been like, I don't know what's going on with the overall fight because I'm only with one character. But that's my preference, is to stay with one character, and maybe you don't know until after the battle, like, what all happened in the fight. You only get what the character sees and what that character's experiencing. Keep me in Amaris's head and have her, like, look at what's his nuts, the flappy boy, to see what he's doing every now and then. But Amaris is doing the rogue thing, if we were keeping up our comparison to Dragon Age, and she is, like, underneath it, like, stabbing it while he's distracting it. I found a slight inconsistency. When she gives Gadriel the knife, he says it's too bad this isn't a throwing knife, and then now it says stabbing the... It has a fantasy name, I'm just gonna call it the dragon. Stabbing the dragon's elongated throat with the throwing knife. Is it or is it not a throwing knife? But Knox comes through because a door opens and the captain of the guard appears, her enchanted thrall, and he comes to help them fight the dragon. I don't know how helpful this is going to be, but hey, having an expendable guy, probably useful. It says Amaris knew what Knox had done. How would she know? How she has no way of knowing that Knox can enchant people in this way. But she's like, yes, it's Knox, and Knox has somehow gotten this, like, I know Knox came in with the captain of the guard, but, like, that's it. Like, he just stood there. So, I don't know why Amaris would assume that Knox has, like, sent him in to fight. I don't know if we have head-hopped to the captain of the guard or whether Amaris is just really observant, but he's, like, hacking at one specific spot on the dragon's leg, and it's, like, very calculated. We don't know why yet, but Amaris or the captain, one of them is like, the captain has to slice here, exactly here, precisely here, you know, all the words. Unfortunately, the dragon turns around and decides to munch the captain of the guard and, like, grabs him in its mouth. He is wearing armor, so perhaps he will be able to get a few licks in before he's inevitably swallowed. I assume we're not going to have a Dragonheart situation where he's, like, trapped in the dragon's mouth.
If your teeth come down, my sword goes up!
Amaris notices that the dragon is already starting to self-heal, so this boss regenerates hit points. The captain of the guard is now dead, and he drops his sword from where he's being eaten, so Amaris can go get a second sword. By the way, the flappy boy was thrown against the wall, and he's out of the fight for at least a few minutes. Okay, I think I think we are trying to free the dragon, although I'm not entirely certain how this plan works. Because she's hacking at the dragon's leg. It's like shackled. All of its legs are shackled, or one of its legs is shackled. I don't know, it's not very clear. And she's like hacking at the dragon's leg as though she's going to like free it from the shackle, but I don't know how. She didn't grab the second sword, you dumb bitch. She just went back to hacking at the dragon's leg with her one sword. And Gadriel gets up and he goes for the other sword. I would have just two swords hacking at that dragon's leg. Fortunately, the dragon is having trouble swallowing the captain of the guard, so this is buying them time to hack at its leg. Oh, speak of the dragon, it finally decided to spit him out. Smart. Okay, it seems that they are trying to chop the dragon's leg off. Interesting choice, but I guess, I mean, if you want to free this dragon, I guess that's one way to do it. Seems like maybe you could attack the chain instead, but I'm not a dragon fighting expert. From across the sand, her eyes touched Gadriel's. Well, don't touch your eyes together, anyone. Especially not when there's sand involved. The queen realizes what they're doing, and she has her archers try to kill Amaris and Gadriel, but apparently the archers just suck. Amaris thinks that the queen chose them not for their skill, but because there were a lot of them. Fortunately, it makes the dragon pissed off at the archers now, so it's gonna go try to get them, providing even more helpful distraction. So lucky these archers with their shitty aim are here to miss our heroes and hit the dragon. Apparently the dragon can totally reach the people. Like, they haven't freed it quite yet. They're almost there, but they haven't freed it quite yet, and it can almost reach the queen. It can reach her archers. Like, this seems like poor planning. If your dragon has enough leash to come after you.
Not a great plan.
Also, apparently this dragon is perfectly willing to ignore its leg being chopped off as long as it has other people to, like, attack. Because they do. They chop its foot off so that it's free of the cuff. And of course, oh my goodness, this is like a combination of like every terrible climactic moment from numerous books that we have read in this series. So what do our heroes do now that they have freed the dragon? If you guessed right it, you're correct. Normally I am on board for some bonkers stuff, but like this book has been just page after page of description and nothing and padding, so like it's too late to get bonkers and entice me. At least a book like The Cyborg Tinkerer was bonkers all the way through. But this is basically that scene from Harry Potter where the kids ride the dragon out of the bank. The dragon massacres a few more people. Unclear if he got the queen or not. I was kind of skimming at this point. And flies away with them on its back. More mentions made of Gadriel just like holding her and making sure she doesn't fall off the dragon and shielding her with his wings. Man had his wings mutilated, but he is like, I'm gonna shield this girl who is, by all accounts, perfectly fine. But now we have a little break, and this would be a perfect spot for a new chapter to begin, but we're not gonna do that. And we will be with Knox here, as well as Ash and Malik. We have this author's favorite thing. We're with Knox. As soon as the doors had closed, she wiped her tears and found the numbness required to set to work. Her tears would not serve her now. So the author's like, yeah, this character's having an emotion, and I don't want to deal with that, so she's just going to shake it off and do what she needs to do. Which would be fine in this situation, except this is what the author does every single time a character of any type is going to have some kind of emotion. Knox knew that she only had moments before the serpent crushed and devoured the snowflake who stood so vulnerably in the stadium. Oh my goodness, Piper. Apparently Knox had a plan, which quite frankly is a better plan. When she opened the door and pushed the captain of the guard out into it, he was just supposed to be a distraction while Amaris and Gadriel like ran back through the opened door. But Amaris apparently decided she needed to be extra, and so she would chop a dragon's foot off and fly away on it instead, which for her, the most special girl in the whole world, is pretty on brand. Luckily, Amaris did decide to be extra because as soon as Knox shoved her new thrall out into the arena, with his clear instructions to cut the dragon's foot off or die trying, guards show up and close the door again. Luckily, she took the time to free the boys first, so when the guards show up, Ash and Malik are there to fight them. By the time they finish fighting the guards, conveniently, Knox throws the door back open, and just in time to see Amaris finish chopping the leg off of the dragon. You know what I forgot? I have a wolf necklace, and I forgot it. Maybe I'll get it in between chapters, because man, that would have really completed the look. Fortunately, the arena opens out to the outside of the castle walls. So basically all Knox and her boys have to do is just open a door and leave, and they're on the sea cliffs. So Knox is like, where do you think it's going? As she watches the dragon fly overhead with her lover on its back, of course. I say lover, but it's girl she barely knows who she's decided she's in love with. And Ash says it might go to the Soulgrave Mountains, and then the chapter ends. So I'm going to shut off my camera and be back for the next chapter, maybe with my wolf necklace. I feel like this could work a little bit for a Jareth cosplay. I have cosplayed Jareth the Goblin King before, but obviously the wig doesn't work. The bodice, the shirt. Final chapter! Final chapter! Can we get through the final chapter before I have to empty the memory card? Let's find out. Let's go! Oh, I do have my wolf necklace now. This is actually a Dread Wolf necklace, so that makes me an original character, do not steal. We're still with Knox and the Reavers as they are just going down the coast. Escaped without any issues. They run until they basically can't run anymore, and then they decide to just make camp. Knox is at least appropriately tired and worn out, and she doesn't run, so she's very drained from the running and can barely stand. So at least the author remembered things like that, Knox would not be able to keep up with these Reavers. Could they not have perhaps just swung by the stables and stolen a couple horses? I feel like they could have. I feel like this crew has enough main character powers to do that. Good old Malik, our sweet, sexy lamp, sees that Knox is very, very sad and sits down and wraps his arms around her, and she cries on his shoulder. He's just the sweetest, sexy lamp. Knox apologizes to Ash for trying to kill him, apparently. She tried to kill him at that bar. I knew she scared him. I didn't know she tried to kill him. She's being far more polite than she needs to be, or that Amaris would ever be, and I'm waiting for her to ask these guys so, has Amaris been searching for me all these years? Because clearly I am very much in love with her still for some reason. If it wasn't for the fact that Amaris is so distinctive looking, would Knox have even recognized her? But anyway, when is she gonna find out that Amaris did not give two fucks about her the entire time? So a flappy boy, TM, joins them. Obviously it still looks like a monster, but the guys know that it's not. But the winged guy in demon form, which is very confusing to Knox, has brought them some blankets. She understands their language, even when they're speaking in their, demon language. So someone suggested that Knox is going to turn out to be the lost princess, which I was which way is it gonna go? I was definitely leaning toward it being Amaris, just because she is the sun. She's bright. She's sun. And because she's just the most special person who is ever special. But the fact that Knox can understand these creatures' demon speech, maybe it is leading us more towards her being the lost princess. So they introduce themselves, and this is Zakai, who you remember from before. And Knox is like, hi, I'm Knox, and people have suggested that I'm part demon. Do you think that's true? What a way to meet someone. Hi, nice to meet you. I might be part demon. Do you get that vibe? Zakai, one of the other Flappy Boys, comes out of hiding. I'm not sure why there are so many of these guys, because they don't matter to the plot. They explain to the Flappy Boys what happened with the Queen and how she's responsible for the curse, I guess. And the Flappy Boys are like, okay, now that we have this information, we need to go tell our king. So at least they're being prudent. They're like, oh, good to know. And they fly off to tell the king, who has kind of a Welsh-looking name. Oh, one of the Flappy Boys does say, as they're leaving, if Amaris is heading north towards Soulgrave, she'll look for the orb. So conveniently, this dragon that they have liberated is flying her to exactly the place where this magic orb is supposed to be. Could this be any more of a video game? I have heard Piper CJ mention that there are homages to video games in this book, but this isn't a homage, I don't know. This isn't that. This is just a video game in book form. There's a difference. This is just a fan fiction of a video game / TV show in book form. I like to think, and you can tell me if you agree when you read my book, Adventurer Mage, that mine is much more of a homage to video games, and hopefully the things I put in there are far more like Easter eggs, and less like blatant eggs to your face. Knox decides that her mission, and the boys' mission apparently, because they're with her now, is to kill the queen. So I'm guessing book 2 is going to be Amaris questing with her winged boyfriend and Knox trying to assassinate the queen. And we have another break instead of a new chapter for some reason, and we're with Amaris now and Gadriel flying on the dragon. Apparently they've been riding a dragon for 8 hours. Took them this long to decide that they need to jump off. The dragon is starting to fly lower, so they're probably just gonna like jump off it into a field. The dragon has spotted some sheep and it's going to try to eat them, so perfect time for Amaris and Gadriel to jump off. Sometimes I just have to read you Piper's turns of phrase because they're silly. Her stomach flew to her mouth as they blindly obeyed the laws of gravity.
Obey gravity. It's the law.
Gadriel does everything in his power to like shield her as they hit the ground, even though he's the injured one. He's like using his severely injured wings to shield her. Pretty princess. Can't she just have done her like tuck and roll trick and landed just fine? Amaris gets the wind knocked out of her and we spend 2 paragraphs dealing with that. Poor baby. Meanwhile, Gadriel is just like lying in a heap over there because he did everything to protect you. Even though she's got some field medicine training, she has no idea how to help Gadriel, so she just decides to spoon. If she was smart, she would be like, there's sheep here, and where there's sheep, there's usually farmers, so I could potentially find help. Although the farmer's not going to be too happy that you brought a dragon here to eat his sheep, but you don't have to mention that. So now she's sitting with his head in her lap and she's petting his hair. And like, which ship are we supposed to ship here? Because it feels really one-sided. I feel so bad for Knox. It feels so one-sided. What is it with these brown girls like pining after these white women that they can't have? Because we had the same thing with friggin' Rora in the Cyborg Tinkerer. Rora, who like in the end was just basically like had to be super agreeable and was fed scraps, while the guy got to decide how he wanted the relationship to be, but she just had to be like, yeah, whatever you want, babe. Like, why are we doing this? I don't like this. Also, are these books heading for polyamory as well? I'm sure if they are, Piper CJ will take credit for being like, I wrote a polyamorous book when no one else is. If it is polyamorous, I'm sure Piper CJ will want lots and lots of praise for writing a polyamorous book, just like she wants for writing a queer book. Oh god, is she gonna try to write a song? I don't think so. Okay. So Amaris, like a song, like a lullaby comes into Amaris's head, and I was like, is Piper gonna try to write a song? Which is a staple of fantasy books, and I often include at least one song in my books, just sort of like as a homage to the fantasy books I grew up reading. But I don't think Piper can do it. Like, I don't think I'm that great at it, and I definitely don't think Piper can do it. Yeah, she's just singing him the song, but we don't get any words of the song, and normally I'd be like, why are you doing that? Like, we should be seeing the song on the page. If your character's going to sing a song, at least give us a couple of verses, but not from Piper, no. Watch as she included it in the like final version of this book that's published now. I really, like, if you're watching this, Rachel, of Reads with Rachel, please make another video telling us the differences between the 2 books, because I need to know now. I'm not going to read the new version. I'm not as brave as you, but I need to know. So Amaris is finally discovered by what seems to be a small group of teenagers who were studying dragons and just happened to be in the area when a dragon appeared.
You're kidding. What a crazy random happenstance.
Unfortunately, somehow they are still in the lands where Gadriel looks like a demon. I thought perhaps they would have flown out of those lands by now, but I guess I don't know exactly which direction they went. Like, did they go further into the Queen's lands? Unclear. But these kids also see a demon, so it looks like she's sitting there with a demon's head in her lap. But Amaris is just like so done, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna need your help, kids. So the kids are like, oop, I'm almost out of memory card, okay. And I'm almost at the end of this book. The kids are like, we'll go get help, and they go, and they're gone for like hours and hours. So like, it's really convenient that they were so nearby when this dragon landed. But they're gone for hours, and then they finally come back, but Amaris has passed out, and she and her boy are loaded into a wagon, and that is the end of the book. What a thrilling conclusion. I don't care. I don't care about any of these people or what happens to them. But I have to empty my memory card, and then we will do our like outro or our goodbye to this book. So, and our overall thoughts. I'll be right back. All right, got rid of the wig. It's getting itchy. Wig hair is probably the tidiest my hair will ever be. Now I'm really an original character, do not steal. So, overall thoughts for A Night in Its Moon. Did we get any last minute bingo squares? I don't think so. Unless dragon riding counts as a high skill activity, we didn't have main character immediately good at a high skill activity, nor did we have main character having any last minute powers or abilities because she didn't think to use any. She didn't try anything in the last scenes. Awkward sex scene? Not really. Like, there really weren't too many sex scenes in this book. There were like 2. There was one that was a dream, and the other one was Knox and the red-haired girl, and both of them were pretty brief. Those were the only ones we were missing though, I think. So, oh, She Don't Know She's Beautiful. That was the other one we were missing. All of these characters are very self-confident. We don't have any of that, like, oh, I'm so plain, oh, I'm so uninteresting. No, these characters know that they are awesome and hot and kick-ass. I don't know which I dislike more. The character who's obviously very hot being like, oh, I'm so plain, or the character that's obviously very hot and awesome and special knowing that they're hot and awesome and special. I guess I just don't like characters that are so special just in general. A Night in Its Moon. What do we think of the version that I have, which I believe is like the second draft? Not the second draft overall, but like the second published book, because I guess there was one before this that was really messy, and then now there's one after this that hopefully has a lot of the typos and stuff taken out. I didn't notice a lot of typos at the end. As a lot of you have already commented, this book had no plot. It was just a series of meandering events culminating in a climax that made no sense and was not led up to or alluded to by the rest of the story. It involved no culmination of the character's skills, abilities, or friendships. Everything about this book was stream of consciousness, and we know it was because the author has even said that she wrote this book for a stream of consciousness, and you can tell that she did that and then made no effort to fix the issues that are often inherent with stream of consciousness writing. Trust me, I know I can do it sometimes. While I usually have a decent plan of at least what the ending and some key points within my books are going to be, I have done complete stream of consciousness. Second Floor was very stream of consciousness. You can still read an early draft up on Wattpad right now, and yeah, if I was going to publish it for money, there are a lot of things that I would fix about it. And many of those flaws are because it is completely stream of consciousness. Now, there's nothing wrong with writing that way, and some people are better at it than others. I'm sure there are some stream of consciousness authors who can get like a really concise story right away, but Piper CJ is not one of those people. You know, you were there, you saw, she just has things happen because she thinks it would be cool. It's like a little kid. It's like a little kid telling a story, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened just because, like, a new idea would pop into her head, and she would be like, ooh, this was in the latest episode of The Witcher show, and this is... Why isn't this just a fanfic? Why isn't it an AU fanfic with a Ciri Yennefer ship, although it was barely a ship? All this promise on the back of the book, let me read it. A bond that neither time nor distance could possibly break. The fate of the realm lies in the hands of 2 orphans and the love they hold for each other. Where? Where, Piper? One of the characters barely thought about the other one this entire book and made absolutely no effort to find or reunite with the other. And I can bet you that book 2 is going to be very similar because, like, now these 2 girls have totally different quests that they're going on. Amaris has to find an orb and probably be revealed as the long-lost princess, though maybe that's book 3. And Knox is gonna try to assassinate a queen. Like, they've given up even trying to find each other at this point, at least at the end of this book. So, like, the credit that this author wanted for, like, this epic queer love story, I'm just not seeing it. Yes, there are queer characters in it, and I guess they kind of like each other, but there's absolutely no chemistry, and Amaris spends way more time with a bunch of hot boys than she does thinking about Knox, being around Knox. Except for a kiss that she has with Knox at the end, she never notices other girls. We never see her notice other girls. It's just like boys, 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 boys. Whole reverse harem for Amaris. And then she kisses Knox. And I mean, that's fine. If you're bisexual, you can have a preference. My husband is pansexual with a slight preference towards women, so it's fine. You can have preferences, but that doesn't feel like that's what this is. It definitely feels like the heavy hand of the author being just like, I don't know, I ship Amaris with more boys. And Knox feels like such an afterthought, even though she is the character that we started out with. She's our viewpoint character in the first few chapters, and then afterward she feels like the author almost is annoyed that we have to go back to like writing her chapters and dealing with Knox. The author's like, oh yeah, Knox. It's way more noticeable in Knox's chapters when stuff just happens to her for plot reasons. It's noticeable in Amaris's chapters, but it's worse in Knox's chapters. And I really would love Piper to really focus in future books on foreshadowing, on story structure, on making sure that things flow into each other in a logical way, instead of just being like, this would be cool for the plot, let's do this. If you have an idea that you want to implement in your story, like say a death arena, you really should bring up the death arena before the chapter where it is used at the very end of the book. That is, quite frankly, too late to introduce your death arena. She probably watched that Gladiator show that Jenna Moreci watches and was like, ooh, I'm gonna include this too. Not a great book. Do I think that Piper CJ could improve? Yes, of course I do. Unfortunately, I think she's had too much success too soon and therefore has no incentive to improve, and that might be her downfall. I just don't see her getting better because she's just cranking out book after book and only interested in praise. So, and now she's got like a publisher behind her. So I just don't think that we're gonna see much improvement from book to book because I just don't think that she's interested in it. And you know what, make that bank, girl. Like, I would love also to be in a situation where I didn't have to keep improving and people liked my books the way they were and I could make money off of them the way they were. But that's not happening, so I'm just gonna keep trying to improve and hope eventually I get there. But Piper CJ is there. That's the dream, right? She's doing it. She's out there. She's making money off of her writing. She's writing what she wants to write, even if it is just fan fiction with the serial numbers filed off, and you really can't knock the hustle.
The one main problem I really do have, though, is that while, yes, reviews are for readers, and she shouldn't have to listen to everything readers say because it's going to be very contradictory and everybody's going to think different things about your book. However, if somebody comes to your book, especially people of color, and says, hey, you're using racist tropes in your book, maybe don't, then you should probably listen. And it's her refusal to listen to those critiques specifically that makes me upset. Not all of this other stuff. The other stuff I can appreciate. I can be like, go girl, get that bag. But like her refusal to acknowledge that she might have used racist tropes. At first I was like, well, she's ignorant, and ignorant is a curable thing. Like she can learn from this, but she was told by multiple people, hey, these tropes aren't great. Like, you could have a fine book without them. The book would be perfectly serviceable without them. And she was like, nope, I have to use these tropes. These tropes are what I want. And it's like, there, Piper, I cannot stand behind you. I'm afraid. Sorry, can't do it.
I do wish Piper would get better. I do wish she would work on her craft, but I find it doubtful that she will. But I have 2 fantasy stories that you can check out and read and decide what you think of them, and you can decide if you think I'm improving when my new book, Adventurer Mage, comes out probably sometime in 2023. I'm guessing summer 2023. I have no idea at this point. And you can decide whether my book that has references to video games is better than Piper's book that has references to video games. That'll be pretty exciting. In the meantime, feel free to read my other 2 books. They're both fantasy. One of them is a fantasy romance with queer characters in it. They both have queer characters in them. I just don't expect everyone to be as amazed by it as Piper does. I don't have much else to say about this book. You were there. It's a meandering mess. Piper does not like to write pain, and she's not very good at writing dialogue or action scenes, but she loves descriptions, and some of them aren't terrible. Like, there's so many descriptions that some of them are bound to be decent. So I think if she honed that, she could at least get really good at, like, beautiful descriptions. But, y'all, hang on a minute. In case you missed my announcement here on YouTube, this is our next read-along book. Now, I know I'm late. Everyone else has already reviewed this book, but I'm still going to because I bought it. And you can thank A Night in Its Moon for taking so long for me getting to this book. This book is like a manageable size, I will give it that. I'm very interested. I am fascinated by the phenomenon of how this book came into being, so we'll be talking about that, and like TikTok and authors, and probably talk about how like tropes and just saying what tropes your book has is slowly becoming like the way to advertise your book. So much to talk about, so look forward to that whenever I have energy to start a new read-along, but you won't have to wait as long in between these 2 as you usually do, so that's exciting. But I think I'm gonna leave you here. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to share this around if you enjoyed it, if you thought this was fun, share this with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and ding the bell, because that means YouTube will actually send you the content that you wanna get. YouTube makes you jump through so many hoops just to get the videos that you wanna watch. It's obnoxious, but I don't have any control over it. So do all of the things that YouTubers are supposed to ask you to do every time, and I always forget. Also, you can support me over on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get exclusive content not seen here on the regular channel. Plus, normally, you will get to vote for the next read-along book, and your vote would count for 2 votes. So that, also exciting. So I'll see all of you later, and don't forget, toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh.
Look, I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it, okay?
KJ, LaFone, Unicorn Jenny, Celia, Neon, Taya, Alyssa, Deborah, My96, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Marween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah.
Sure, no problem.
I'll be back with payment in a few days. If anything happens to my horse.
You done scared me.
Point me to Demaria.